star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the and the home of the
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman as we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Wednesday, you guys. You guys, I am so sorry. I am so sorry about the overlap of the intro music. Y'all know whenever I go out of town and I come back, things get a little crazy. But welcome to the live stream tonight. So many of you are joining us on YouTube, and we're trying something new tonight. I am streaming to Instagram, which is something I have never done before. I have no idea what the health of that stream is looking like over there, but hey, it's a new year, and it's always a good idea to try to branch out and spread your wings and do something a little different. So I am back. I have been MIA probably since matter of fact, it's been a week today. I left town last Wednesday heading to Lynchburg, Virginia. We are wrapping up and trying to finish production on MLK Motives Unmasked, which is the film directed and written by Chad O. Jackson, my brother in the Lord. He is an amazing friend and a very, very, very talented peer of mine. And I'm so grateful that he includes me in his projects because I completely support the work that he's doing, even if we may not agree 100% on every single little thing. That is my boy. Okay, that is my brother from another mother. And we were in Virginia. Y'all, it's cold and it was rainy, and I was there with my clients. Every quarter or so, I go up there and kind of recalibrate what we're doing with the Vince Everett Ellison brand. I'm also grateful and privileged to manage that brand as well. And we did some recording. We did a live in studio recording at Media Squatch Studio. Shout out, listen, I have got to take a minute to give a shout out to Woody Watts. He is the coldest studio owner in Lynchburg, Virginia. He actually does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of on-site production for the Vince Everett Ellison show. And he was so gracious and allowed us to use his studio for us to do a live. It was a moderated debate, but not really. You really can't call it a debate because it was Vince Everett Ellison, Chad Jackson, and Chuck Littleton, who all for the most part agree. But it's interesting to hear these gentlemen give their thoughts and perspective on history because all of them come from a different vantage point. Some of them land on the same or arrive at the same conclusion, but then some of them don't. And so I think it's healthy for conservatives to sit and discuss these things and to experience what another peer, an academic in this space, believes as it relates to the Revolutionary War or the Civil War, Reconstruction or civil rights, or just modern politics in general. So if you haven't been joining, I dropped episode 1. Y'all, this was almost a 3-hour discussion, okay? And I wasn't trying, I was not about to drop a 3-hour video on my channel because I just felt like that was just too much. And that was information overload, especially when you're dealing with the heavy hitters like Vince, Chad, and Chuck. You got to eat them in bites, okay? It's like you got a big old steak and you try to put it all in your mouth at one time. You can't digest that, okay? Your digestive system ain't ripe enough for all of that. So I broke it up I tried to keep each episode right around 30 minutes. And we dropped episode 2 today at 7 p.m. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go and check that out, I would encourage you to do so. But I think tomorrow's episode is my favorite, but it's probably Friday's episode, which is going to be my favorite, where we get into a nice, healthy banter between, or should I say, with the differences between Joseph H. Jackson, who was the president of the National Baptist Convention during the time of the Civil Rights Movement, and then MLK. We basically compare and contrast these two pastors, and you will be pleasantly surprised to hear what each of them have to say. And believe it or not, there is there's a small source of contention. And so I really, that's probably was my favorite aspect of the discussion by far. So Friday, I want you to definitely tune in for that one, and then tune in tomorrow. I think they talk about the Civil War, the causes of the war, how slavery played into all of that. It really is just a wonderful discussion. Now, during yesterday's what do you call it? The premiere. Y'all know I be pulling at the words they be running from me. I be trying to catch them, right? During yesterday's premiere, one of our friends of the channel, faithful listeners, asked if I had any trauma stories from my travels. And at first thought, I was like, no, nothing uneventful happened. And then it hit me that the trip started out absolutely traumatic. So let me just listen. I know that there are other women. I know I'm not alone in this. There are other women who are going through perimenopause, and y'all, we out here fighting for our lives. Okay. We want our old brains back. Like we want that mid-30 brain when you were just sharp. You could multitask. I mean, your brain was just firing on all cylinders. Yeah. I need that brain back. And the reason why I need that brain back is because I am a very methodical packer. Like if my luggage were to ever get lost, I was about to say I'm not going to toot my horn. I'm tooting my horn. When you open up my suitcase, it is just impeccably packed. I use these little packing cubes, and everything has a place, and there's a place for everything, and it just looks marvelous and magnificent when you open it up. I even do the same thing with my purse when I travel, because if you're a female and you're traveling alone, you don't want to be fumbling around in a big old purse looking for stuff. So I always have my fan, my lotion, my iPod case, my wallet, my little makeup, and I normally travel with my ID and a debit and a credit card, and I have a little special pocket just for that. So I take a Uber and we pull up to the airport, and it is a routine of mine. Right when I'm pulling up to the gate, I open up my purse and I pull my driver's license out, right? Because I don't want to be fumbling. I like everything to just be smooth. I pull my license out, I get out the Uber, and then I retrieve my luggage. Well, we pull up to the airport, and April has no license. Okay, I have no driver's license. I have no credit card. I have no debit card. I am undocumented as they come. And I start freaking out. I was like, "Oh my goodness, Father, this is not happening." I was like, "I'm going to miss my flight." I'm on the phone. Matter of fact, I was on the phone with Jason Whitaker of Dear Woke Christian. No, that's his old brand. I'm sorry. J Wit Podcast. We're on the phone. I don't even remember what we was talking about because I blacked out. Because I was like, I live an hour from the airport. So the Uber driver's like, "Oh my goodness, you forgot your driver's license?" I said, "I did." I said, "Listen, homie, how much would you charge me to take me all the way back home?" And he was like, "I mean, you're going to have to like Zell it." I was like, "Listen, I don't care how much it costs. How much?" And then I was like, "Wait, April, think." Because obviously I ain't been thinking all morning. I realized, I said, let me call my friend. And I am so grateful for having there is nothing like an amazing friend, you guys. One thing, at the end of the day, I try to keep my relationship solid. Unless I just absolutely don't like you no more. Like if I cut you off cold turkey and I ain't and we ain't never smoked and I blocked you and we don't talk, and I keep my friends close. I called my homie. I was like, "Henny," I was like, "I gotta go all the way back home." I was like, "I forgot my driver's license." I'm freaking out. I'm just crying. He was like, "Stop." Mind you, the Uber is pulling off. He's pulling off. We're about to circle, get right back on 285. Kenny was like, "No, turn around. I got you. Don't worry about it." I was like, "Kenny, I can't fly without a driver's license. What I'm going to do? I can't check my bag. I can't get through security." He's like, "April, turn around. Come back to the airport. Call me when you get out front." So we turn around. Kenny goes, "So where are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm at the North Terminal." He was like, "You texted me 2 days ago and asked me if I was working on the International Terminal. And what did I say?" I said, "You ain't tell me." Da-da-da-da. He was like, "April, check your text messages." I checked my text messages. He says, "Yes." I'm like, shoot, I'm at the wrong terminal anyway. So I'm sweating. Okay, so I'm having a hot flash. I'm sweating. I have no driver's license. My flight leaves at 10:30 something, and it's like 9 o'clock at this point, and it's the Atlanta airport. He goes, "Don't worry about it." He goes, "I'm gonna send my sister, who works also for TSA. She's gonna come get you. We got you." His sister, Kenny, shout out to you, beautiful. Thank you so much for helping me, because y'all, I was a meltdown mess. Okay. She takes me to her supervisor. He's like, "Okay, Mrs. Chapman, what's going on with your license?" I was like, I ain't gonna lie, I left it. He was like, "Okay, so where do you live?" "Rockdale County." "Okay, well," I said, "I can't go back home to get my license, sir." He's like, "All right, I'm going to ask you a few questions." And he's like, "We have this process that we normally go through, and we're going to have to put you through an extra screening, but, we going to take care of you." Y'all, I got through security in 5 minutes. Okay. He asked me some questions. I don't even remember what the questions were. They made me take off my shoes. They wiped down my laptops. They're looking for, I guess, residue of explosive powder. I passed. And then when I get through security, one of the TSA agents was like, "Hey, April Chapman, how you doing? I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, what's going on? Why are you going through all this rigmarole? I was like, I ain't got no license. He's like, well, yeah. He said, well, we're going to take good care of you. You're going to be on your way soon. Got through security. And I did not miss my flight. So that's how the whole trip starts. I have no wallet. I have nothing. Call my husband. He ends up having to overnight my wallet all the way to Virginia. I got my wallet on Friday. So I spent 2 days unidentified. Lord forbid if something had happened to me, they would have been like, we don't know who this lady is. But I tell y'all these stories because y'all are experiencing the travails of life with me, okay? I am incredibly perplexed that life is changing as fast as it is, and I feel like I'm not keeping up. I feel like I have somebody else's brain, right? Like I have the ambition of a 25-year-old, but the brain of a 70-year-old. And the two don't mix. They don't communicate with one another, and it is incredibly stressful. So I covet your prayers. We're laughing about it now that I didn't have a driver's license. But y'all, that wasn't funny to travel without a driver's license. And basically, if I had not had one of my debit cards added to my wallet, I wouldn't have been able to buy a snack. I wouldn't have been able to do anything. Nothing. I couldn't do anything. And so I'm grateful that it all worked out. So that is my latest trauma story from my travels. So anyway, listen, God, don't he be working? He be working out, Cameron. I'm grateful for friends. Like I getting through Atlanta security without a driver's license. Oh, by the way, if you're traveling, they're going to start charging people for that service. It's going to be $45, and it can really delay your ability to get through security because they have a security hotline that they call, and usually people don't answer the phone. So you could be waiting there for an hour just so they could get through and get you through that extra layer of security. But tonight, we are going to be discussing, I'm late to the party, y'all. I am. I know I'm late to the party, but I have not had an opportunity to discuss the whole Minnesota ICE debacle up there in Minneapolis. And I want to talk about it because I think it's incumbent upon us. Sometimes I would love to react to things as soon as they happen. Sometimes, you get excited, you want to be the first one to react. But sometimes I like to kind of sit back and see how the news cycle plays out before I react. And so, what we're going to do today, I am going to show you guys the clip. There's a particular clip that I want to show you first. And with that clip, I'm going to let it play because this is a more in-depth clip. I think we're going to do clip 2. There is a viewer discretion is advised from this clip. I just want to give that warning out. But I want to watch this clip. And then I'm going to come back and give my commentary on it. And this is about a 3-minute clip from multiple angles. So let's take a listen.
Newly surfaced footage shows the moments leading up to the Minneapolis mom Renee Nicole Good's death, when she was fatally shot by an ICE agent on January 7th after veering her car towards him, captured in harrowing video shared across the internet. In the newly surfaced footage, which offers fresh insight into the controversial events as they unfolded, Renee's plum-colored SUV can be spotted pulling into frame and then letting out a passenger before making a turn perpendicular to the street, seemingly in an attempt to block traffic on the road where ICE had been operating. However, cars can still be seen passing by in the grainy footage. According to CNN, the footage lasts for nearly 4 minutes before the deadly interaction between her and ICE officer Jonathan Ross occurred. After agents asked Good to exit her vehicle and attempted to open the door, she quickly reversed the car before barreling forward in what feds say was an attempt to mow down Agent Ross. He then quickly fired off 3 shots at Good, killing her.
Hold on, you guys. I have no idea why it blacked out like that.
ICE warrior saying that Renee Good had participated in part. Yeah, there you go. The cover right there of the New York Post. Look at that. Warrior on the left saying that she was part, Ainsley, of this ICE watch group. And, you know, it is unbelievable that in America we have these organized groups in Minneapolis. We saw it out in California months ago, where groups are allowed to organize to basically dox, identify, and put our ICE, federal immigration law enforcement officers, at greater risk. That's why you've got assaults up 1,300%. That's why you've got a 3,200% increase in vehicle assaults. Now, you mentioned that school, Brian. A mother that also has a child in that school gave a quote to the New York Post saying that Renee was trained against these ICE agents, what to do, what not to do. It's a very thorough training to listen to commands, to know your rights, to whistle when you see an ICE agent. I know she was doing the right thing. I watched the video plenty of times, but I also know in my heart the woman she was doing everything right.
Why did you have real bullets? She was scared!
Okay, did you guys see the last portion of this video where Renee Good's wife indicates, you know, why did you have to use real bullets? I think that is very telling, and we're going to talk about it because I want to say this clearly before. We already know that the spin machine has been off the chain as it relates to this story, but this was not, at least in my opinion, from the vantage point of Renee Good, this was not some accident. She was not confused, and this is not a story of some poor innocent woman who kind of just got caught up. Okay, this is your typical white liberal vigilante who actively participates and trains for encounters like this. There was the woman in the news story who indicated that the school that Renee Good's daughter goes to, it's apparent that this is a very liberal school district, and it is thoroughly training not just young people, but it's radicalizing the parents of this school, and she is training for situations like this. Her entire goal that day in Minneapolis was to interfere with federal law enforcement. And now you've got Democrats who are scrambling to slap a halo on this woman's head, and they're very eager to light a match for another riot. And my issue with this, it is very, very simple. The truth of the matter is that Democrats do not care about the truth. They are interested in flashpoints. They care about the chaos. They love and thrive on civil unrest. I've got some more footage that I intend to show you, but these Democrats, these leftists, these progressive Marxist-minded maggots, they only care about dead bodies if it helps their narrative, but they are absolutely silent on all of the dead bodies that have been deleted by this manufactured immigration crisis. I hope you heard me clearly. This situation would not even be a thing if our country did not experience a manufactured immigration crisis. Our former commander-in-chief left the border open. The whole goal was to have these illegal immigrants pierce our nation's borders, violating our laws, and to bring them here because Democrats need a new class of voters. They need some new electoral serfs. The blacks are jumping ship in droves from the Democratic Party in terms of us, instead of being 90% vote blue no matter who, we're now in the 80s. And Democrats cannot win elections if that number dips below 80%. They have to sustain, they need new voters. So the ones that they didn't kill in the womb, the ones they haven't locked up in mass incarceration, what is left? We got to import some new ones. And so you have individuals like your Jasmine Crockett's who will cry for Renee Good, but was completely silent on all of the other good and decent Americans who've lost their lives because of these trash Democrat policies. So up in Minnesota, they're absolutely trying to manufacture and make this a George Floyd 2.0, but it's not working. They may have made some inroads and got a few useful idiots to protest and try to draw a comparison between Renee Good and George Floyd, but this time, I'm sorry, the facts are not cooperating in their favor. Now, I showed you a clip. It was a compilation clip of multiple angles. There was one angle, although it was grainy, clearly sees her plow into the officer that was standing in front of her. And so I want to just get something straight out of the gate. These ICE officers, they did not create this situation. Okay, law enforcement did not create this situation either. America, us, you and I, we didn't create this situation. Democrats did. I hope you heard me clearly. I am laying all of this chaos and mayhem at the feet of the Democrat Party because for years now, all of these blue cities and blue states, they've been playing a very dangerous game. They'll tell ICE that, well, we're not going to cooperate with you and you can't come pick up these illegals at the jail. They will, in the course of a traffic stop, encounter an illegal immigrant and won't arrest them. You have judges actually protecting these individuals and letting them go, evading prosecution. They'll release these illegal immigrants back into your community where many, not all, but many of them absolutely are committing crimes. How many stories have we had and how many stories have we heard of individuals who have unalived Americans of all ethnicities and they were an illegal immigrant? Democrat leadership, they are the ones who are obstructing cooperation with federal law enforcement. They will flat out tell you, oh, we're not going to cooperate with you. We don't want ICE here. But then they'll clutch their pearls when ICE has to go and find these people instead. I don't know why these brain dead sock puppets thought that, well, here's the thing, they didn't think. They didn't think Donald Trump was going to win that election. And so now they're scrounging around trying to figure out, oh, snap, we let all of these people into the country, and now Trump's back in office, and he's absolutely going to send them all back home. And so now that ICE has to go and find people, it just makes it harder. So now the ICE agents, they're not doing clean, controlled transfers at jails. Like, this process could be really super simple. And we'd have virtually no casualties if Democrats weren't the same rebellious anarchists that they've always been. Oh, I've done a whole lot of content on this channel where I tell you exactly who these freak nasty Democrat rebellious people have always been. They've been that way since the inception of this country, always wanting to rebel and just can't. We're trying to keep a union together with just basic common sense. But whether they wanted to exploit slavery, subjugate Black people, exploit homosexuals and feminism, and now the transgender community, now we got the immigrants. ICE is now being forced into neighborhood operations because they're left with no choice. So if ICE has to go into local neighborhoods, well, what is that going to do? That's going to increase risk. That's going to bring more confusion, more chaos, and more danger. And you do realize Democrats know this. Now, they're stupid. They are stupid. but they understand what is happening here and they're losing power. Listen, when the threat of power, when you feel it slipping through your grip, you will do anything to maintain it, including the foolishness that we are witnessing happening every single day in this country. Democrats know this, and that's the point. I told y'all, a Democrat heaven is an American hell. Do not forget that. All of these blue, liberal-run cities are not shining examples of human flourishing. You're not going to experience that. And unfortunately, I don't know if it is a deep-seated self-hatred or a mental disorder that makes the white liberal go and risk it all just to make a point. I don't know what it is that forces them to do that. But what we are witnessing here is that the activist class, the white liberal agitator, many of them are paid. They are trained to flood these cities, and they're looking for confrontation. I'm going to show you. I've got another clip that I want to show you. And this was wild. I was like, yeah, now I know that these people are absolutely degenerate. Let me show you guys this clip. Wrong clip. Hold on, let me get it. I thought that was the clip. This is the clip. That was the clip. I had it up.
Got to look at the turnout. Look at this. Not a single empty seat in this church tonight. On a Monday night, over 300 people showing up to learn what they can do to try to protect their community from Trump's agents, who again started their attack on Charlotte this weekend. People tonight did role-playing exercises, talking about how to conduct safety patrols in your own neighborhood, how to react if you see Trump's masked agents beating people up or snatching people off the streets. Jacob spoke to one of the organizers tonight, a pastor from a nearby town, about what it's like to see his community show up like this.
Do y'all see this foolishness? I'm gonna let it play. Just look around. We can count on one hand, with probably some fingers left over, how many brown people are in this audience. And you're looking at a church full of useful idiots. And yes, I am using pejoratives and I am mocking these people and I am calling them names because it needs to happen. These are your white liberal and a few melanated dumb ones sprinkled in here who are your agitators. This is a training inside of a church. Do y'all see this? Let me just let it finish playing.
How does it make you feel to know that all these people showed up on a Monday night and you got many more of these to do?
Yeah, it makes me grateful and reminds me of how much our community loves each other, and our community wants to support. But people don't come out on Monday nights, right, to anything. And so that people are showing up right now and spending their valuable time to learn how to care for each other and protect each other. I don't even have words for it.
Look at this freak. Harassing ICE agents is fun for them? This clip is taken outside the Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis, where hundreds of pro-illegal immigrant sympathizers gather and harass police and ICE agents. As you know, laws are for tax-paying Americans only. These freaks can do whatever they want. Fraud check, crime check, protest check. Grandma, what are you doing here? At this time of night, this gray-headed leftist woman should be with her grandkids.
Look at this crowd. Who are y'all with? Look, they think it's an autonomous city. They think they own this city just because they have safety vests on.
You see these people blocking traffic? I'm telling you, I can't live in a world like this. Either the Lord gonna have to call me home or we're gonna have to break out in a civil war or something. This is ridiculous. These people are standing in the middle of the street, arms stretched out wide, thinking we're the do-gooders of the country, blocking traffic. And then as soon as one of them get mowed down, that's when the white liberal tears will start flowing. And now listen to the noise nuisance. This is done on purpose. Listen to this.
It's not just one hotel they're targeting. These protesters are roaming across downtown Minneapolis, hitting multiple locations like the Canopy by Hilton and the Renaissance Hotel at the Depot, disrupting every guest and creating chaos wherever they go, as if they have some inherent right to terrorize innocent people.
And Americans, how stupid are we to keep allowing this to happen? I say it's time for everybody to start getting guns and start coming out of their houses and start shooting these fucking ICE agents in the head when they start trying to take over people.
We're going to start fighting back. That's what we're going to start doing, fighting back. Goddamn shame, all y'all should put a bullet in y'all heads. Doing Trump's work, every single one of y'all put a bullet in your head. Yeah, I said it. What? I said it. What? I'm a United States citizen.
You hear these ignorant terroristic threats that this fool is making? How is this sustainable? I'm literally at a loss for words watching these protesters attempt to bum rush a hotel because they've been tipped off or have reason to believe that ICE agents are staying here. These are domestic terrorists. How are you so bold and you just real froggy that you have no conscience to speak to federal law enforcement this way? Talking about you gonna put a bullet in somebody's head. When I was growing up, I was afraid to muster the words that I always thought it was against the law, or that like Secret Service was gonna show up at my house if they overheard me saying that I wanted to delete the president or something. I'm just using that as an example. But these people are really bold, and they feeling themselves, ain't they? Big and bad, until one of them get manhandled and thrown to the ground and locked up in prison. At some point, I know a lot of people are like, well, what are we going to do? These are American citizens. These are anarchists. These are domestic terrorists. And at some point, if you are making verbal terroristic threats like this, I believe that there needs to be some sort of consequence. You need to lock these jokers up. They need to be locked up. I used the word church loosely. In the scene before this, we watched a synagogue of Satan, full of white liberals training people to violate Romans 13. So that right then and there tells you that this is not a church. I'm going to explain what it is, but let me let this clip finish.
I said it. All y'all put a bullet in your head.
Gonna kill these bro. It's your right as an American. They say Renee died in self-defense. In Minnesota, there is no self-defense law. There is no self-defense law. Fight back.
This is what shoot it.
It's okay, bro. You finna come out in a few hours. Yep. So nasty.
I'm sorry. I can't watch them. These are the children of Satan. These people are the children of the devil. We witnessed a synagogue of Satan, like I said, full of white liberals, training people to violate Romans 13. This is a church full of communists. We'll call it a church, but it's not in the biblical sense. This church is hiding behind the shield of religion, but they're really an anti-God, anti-Christian. They're pushing an anti-Christian worldview. This is why it is so important for individuals who claim to name the Christ to know your Bible, because you could be sitting in a church and because you're biblically illiterate, you would think that training to do this foolishness is righteous, right? I can guarantee you that these white liberals, they don't live in any of these communities. Some of them don't even live in this state. They don't have to deal with the crime. This is not their neighborhood. They're not the ones that have to subject themselves of being priced out of their own community because of the influx of the illegal immigrants, many of whom are criminals, not all, but many are. Their white savior complex shields them from dealing with the realities of what illegal immigration has done to this country. They don't have to deal with the consequences. But they'll show up for the cameras. They'll show up with their cameras, with the little bull horns and all their little resistance orchestra music instruments. And apparently now vehicles are being used as weapons. So this woman attempted, Renee Good, that's who the topic of this video is about, attempted to use her car to obstruct ICE agents from doing their lawful job. The best way that I can translate that into normal people language is this woman tried to block federal officers with a 2-ton vehicle. And she was bold. She was bold. She was brazen. And her wife, they thought that they was the big dogs, right? You seen all masculine, big and burly looking, walking around, thought she was one of the guys. While her little cat-loving chick, the other little masculine one, in her ignorance, messed around and found out that day. And I know you guys may have seen, listen, I'm not status quo. So if you came over here expecting me to give this long soliloquy of sympathy, I can't do that. The scriptures talk about those whose feet are swift to shed blood, always running to the chaos, looking for something to get into. This woman was not protesting. She is not without excuse or innocent. Her behavior was absolutely reckless. She was incredibly arrogant. All that vigilante behavior got her killed. So when we see the wife at the end with her little war cry, talking about why'd you use real bullets, this is what communism and Marxism lead you to. And this is why these worldviews are bankrupt and wicked, because it's all based on lies. It's got these people out here brainwashed, believing that they are indestructible, that they're doing fight the power to the people. You know, these people have been brainwashed by a morally bankrupt worldview that has an ideology that is designed to deceive you, to think that you doing this and participating in this is going to usher in your communist, socialist, Marxist utopia where everybody's going to be equal and we're all going to have the same and everybody's going to love, love, love. And no, it's a trap. This worldview always ends up in violence and bloodshed, and these individuals just represent the useful idiots that are always used as the sacrificial lambs for the movement. That's what this is. But notice something. Like clockwork, the media tried to rewrite this whole script. She was just a mom. Hum didn't do nothing. She was just trying to help. She didn't mean anybody any harm, right? Just a mom. It's amazing how they try to craft this shareable narrative. They didn't show you Big Marge. They showed you the sweet feminine looking one when she probably was still identifying as a heterosexual. That's the picture that they showed you. They ain't show you Big Marge. Because my thing is, if she wasn't trying to hurt nobody and she was just a mom, where was her concern for her child? you wouldn't even be there. How do you defend all of the actions here, including when her boo thing told her, drive, baby, drive? What is the defense for that? There is no defense. No, she meant to interfere. She was there to provoke. She meant to play revolutionary. I don't know if she thought this was a game of cops and Rogers or she was G.I. Jane. But after 3 shots were fired that morning, the official line from all of the local politicians was like, it wasn't even that big deal. He didn't have to fire his shots. I heard old stupid pencil neck scarecrow looking Stephen A. Smith talk about he could have shot the tire. We can tell you ain't got a masculine bone in your body. If that's your response to someone charging at you with their vehicle to shoot the tires, remind me never to be caught out with you somewhere where I need a man to step in and think quick on his feet, because you are not that guy. I'm sorry, Stephen A. That was just dumb. I know you got to every now and again be a little balanced and give your Democrat overlords something to work with, but you know that was not the appropriate response. Saying that this ICE agent just walked away with a little bruise or maybe a little hip soreness. I heard Mario Cuomo, his sassy looking self, say the same thing. Funny how all of these media pundits and the same politicians suddenly get an urgent update when it doesn't fit their political agenda. But now federal officials have come out. Department of Homeland Security has said this ICE agent who was struck by Renee Good's vehicle, yes, this is the same agent who shot her, suffered internal bleeding to his torso as a result of being hit by her minivan. So this wasn't just some little bruise, from closing the refrigerator, door with your hip. This wasn't something that he was just able to walk off. He sustained internal trauma to his body. And it was serious enough that DHS publicly acknowledged it. So let's be clear. The injury being acknowledged did not come from the Minneapolis City Hall or any of the local activists in their press release. They're not going to report that. This came from federal sources who were willing to stand behind the facts rather than the media spin to save face. Because they don't want to be called apologists for Donald Trump, or they don't want to be called racist. I am so sick and tired of all of the cowardice from people who we've elected to represent the people. The biggest thing that concerns them is, please don't call me a racist. I was on I think it was Instagram feed the other day, and I saw some useful idiots, you know how they go on there, and it was a reel that I was making about the live interview that I did with Chad and Chuck and Vince, and it was where I was talking about, I'm trying to remember exactly what I was talking about. Oh, we were talking about segregation, and we were trying to figure out, Chad had made a statement. I know I'm sidetracking, but it's relevant to what I want to say. If I don't lose the thought, I need a handle so I can hold on to it because I feel it slipping. I feel it slipping, y'all. But Chad was saying, why did we as Black people feel that proximity to white people somehow made us equal? And he was talking about it in the context of, the white only signs and the colored only signs. And I'm going to be honest, up until a couple of months ago, or maybe a year ago, I had not thought about segregation in those terms because I was taught to believe that because there was this distinction of white only, that somehow colored only meant something less than or inferior. When the reality is, just as you had a colored only sign, does anybody ever ask, why is it that the white people never felt any kind of way about being barred entry to where the colors got to go? Why was it always one-sided? And one of these brain dead morons in my comments was like, you keep forgetting who put the sign up. Who gives a darn? Your problem is you are always seeking white approval because in your mind, you think that whatever the white man got going on, it must be better. So therefore, I'm going to demand access to that space just because, even if I can have the ability and the skill set to create something over here that my own kinsmen would enjoy that's just as good, it wasn't good enough for you. Because you actually are the one with the inferiority complex. Here's what I'm not saying. I am not advocating that it was good and righteous to segregate people on the basis of ethnicity. What I was trying to help people understand that if you were made in the image of God, who cares what man says or thinks about you? You walk with your head up high and say, well, I don't want to be anywhere where I'm not wanted anyway. Why am I going to demand access to a space by people who are saying, I don't like you, I don't respect you, I don't want to be anywhere near you? And you're going to be like, but please, I'm good, folk. Please let me in your space. Please cook my food. Season my meat. Let me sit down and I demand that you serve me. Only a sick mind would demand to be somewhere where they are not wanted versus saying, we're going to be over here doing whatever it is that we do, and we're going to do it great, and we're going to do it well, and we're going to do it to the glory of God. And eventually, these people over here will see the ignorance of their ways, and by the time they realize it, it may be too late, because we're not going to bar entry to our space. We have the love of Christ in our heart. Now, if you want to be wicked and evil and show partiality, that's on you. But we love you. But we don't repay evil for evil. But the last thing we're going to do is beg to be somewhere where we're not welcome. Who does that? Wouldn't you feel some sort of kind of way about a woman who's just demanding to be in a relationship with a man who's like, I done told this chick 1,000,000 times, I don't want to have nothing to do with her, but she will not get the memo. She won't get the message. If they don't see your value, you go where you are valued. What is the point? These, I don't even remember what the point was. Now I told you I brought that up for a reason. I can't remember why. I was trying, y'all, when I tell you I was trying to tie it in, I really was. Like, I seen it in my head and it had a nice little bow on top. But the bow has unraveled off the gift and I can't remember. Now, by the time I remember, it ain't gonna matter anymore. So this is what happens on a live show while I'm going through perimenopause. I love you. Pray, stretch out your hand and pray my strength in the Lord. I have there was a reason why I brought that. One of y'all may be able to figure it out. I'm trying to draw the connection. I can't remember. It's fine. Listen. We've seen the media. After federal sources have said this ICE agent experienced some internal bleeding, you have the liberal press. They're trying to paint this as some tragic misunderstanding, right? They want us to believe that this was just a mom who didn't do nothing wrong and she's just a victim of an overreaction. When government officials have already been reporting that ICE officer was injured, and not in some minor way, but badly enough that it did warrant confirmation of internal bleeding. So for me, that raises the question that most of these reporters won't ask. If there was no ram attempt by Renee Good, and she was, I don't know, just trying to help, then why did the victim of her supposed innocence suffer internal injuries serious enough to be reported by DHS? The truth of the matter is, facts matter. The reality of the situation matters. Not what we want it to be, but we need to just take these facts as they are, because the truth here cuts right through this manufactured narrative that the Democrats and the media allies are trying to serve up. Listen, I get it. Democrats always need a martyr. They always need them a body, right? They needed one with George Floyd. They needed one with Michael Brown. And now they need one now. And this one happens to be the white liberal woman, Renee Good. Yes, she's their new martyr. And they need a martyr because without the chaos, their entire ideology collapses. If they don't have grievance, they don't know how to govern. It's not like their policies are reflective of a party that wants to build something. They can't build. Nothing about Democrat messaging or Democrat policies is unifying. So they got to burn. They have to. They're always starting a riot. I saw someone in the comments talk about the No Kings protest. It's the same group of people. And there's a whole lot of George Soros money and a whole lot of, dare I not, I can't prove it, but you've got the Disneys and the Pritzkers and a lot of this white liberal money that they have to, the only way they know how to maintain power because they can't compete is to stir up mess like this. They're always starting a riot. They are just like their father, the devil, full of accusations, full of baseless lies. And now they're trying to turn this woman into some symbol instead of just telling the truth. This woman had no legal authority. She created an incredibly dangerous confrontation by parking her car perpendicular to traffic. Who does that? Who with good sense does that unless they are asking for trouble? This woman escalated a lawful arrest. And for me, it was the hubris and the arrogance of it all for me. If you listen to the commentary from her, the taunting of these ICE agents, and then her boo thing outside, the big burly looking, well, they both at this point was probably big and burly, but talking about a big guy, you need to go and get yourself some lunch. I'm like, someone emboldened these women. And I'm inclined to believe you have politicians like AOC. Of course, she came right on cue. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came out. This is a woman who's never enforced the law. She has never protected a border. All we get is theater and theatrics from this woman. She's never had to live the consequences of her failed ideology, but she called ICE agents criminals, said a criminal, and then called that man a murderer. And we wonder why the left is emboldened. The useful idiots down on the ground is because the rhetoric is coming from the politicians. Let me be clear. When a sitting member of Congress demonizes federal law enforcement, this person, she is not advocating justice. AOC and Jasmine Crockett and all of them, they are inciting disorder. Maxine Waters, Elizabeth Warren, all they do is tell these activists, you're justified. You know, ICE, they're the enemy. They don't want these good, and they keep calling them citizens. These people are not Americans. They want you to put yourselves in harm's way. And this is exactly how people get hurt. So the uncomfortable truth in all of this, you guys, is that Democrats, they hate order. They've always been the rebels, the ones that rebel against order. They rebelled during the Civil War. They rebelled during Reconstruction. They rebelled against the civil rights legislation when it didn't benefit them. And now they are rebelling against these borders, against our laws, against our sovereignty as the nation's superpower. They don't want peace. They would love nothing more than to have America in a perpetual state of permanent unrest. Because all of this unrest, it justifies their control. And this modern activist class, these useful idiots on the ground, they're just their ideological ancestors, rebellious, entitled, and convinced that the rules shouldn't apply to them. I was on X today, and I want to make this note in passing. I was on X. Let me just find this. Did I load it? Hold on. Where is it? I thought I loaded it. I downloaded it. Let me get it. I downloaded. I saw this on. I thought I downloaded it. Where did it go? Come on. Oh, I know where I put it. Whew, I cannot rely on my brain. Let me pull this in, you guys. Y'all see this post right here? I saw this on X, and it says, unless you have experience with anxiety and depression drugs, you will never understand the current female liberal disregard for consequences. It is the number one reaction to these drugs, and I will guarantee every one of these banshees is taking them. This was a post by DC Laurie, and I agree. I agree that there's something interesting that a lot of these white liberal female activists have in common. They're all on either SSRIs or some sort of antidepressant. They are incredibly miserable. They lack joy. Their lives are chaotic. And it's difficult. A part of you has empathy and compassion for them, but just like the book of Proverbs talks about, they're eating the fruit of the wickedness that they're engaged in. They really are. These people fail to understand that despite the judgment that I believe this nation is under, Scripture has so much to say about what we're witnessing. For example, when we read in Romans 13, where it talks about how rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Like what Renee Good did wasn't good conduct. This was provocative and nefarious and chaotic conduct dressed up as compassion. She wants you to believe that her heart is just so big and full of love and humanitarian aid for our immigrant neighbors that it requires her to do some vigilante justice and put herself on the line in a compassionate way because she believes that ICE being there to deport illegal immigrants is unjust. As a Christian, y'all, we need to stop letting these darn Democrats weaponize emotion while ignoring the truth. A nation must have borders, and borders matter. We are a nation of laws. We must have law and order. And these people, these individuals who are cosplaying revolutionaries, they are finding out the hard way that we're not playing with them. You cannot obstruct a proceeding without negative consequences. And unfortunately, she paid the one of the costliest price by paying with her life. But I thought this tweet was interesting, or an X. What do you call it? An X? It's still a tweet, I guess. I don't know. But they're making, I think, you know what, Cameron made a good point. They're also making a big deal about this because she's a lesbian. Remember, the intersectionality boxes are strong in this one. She's white, she's liberal, she's female, and she's a lesbian. Right? But notice a theme of a lot of these blue-haired, buzz-cut, burly, manly-looking women. They are bemoaning, many of them, their life choices. They, in fact, they give themselves over to this cause because it silences the inner testimony and witness of the fact that they are miserable on the inside. And so all of the aggression and the anger and the rebellion that's inside of them, it comes out in a myriad of ways. And I thought it was interesting that this person noticed that a lot of these women who are engaged, I mean, if you think about it, to see women out here on the streets in these protests, inciting violence is not normal. It may be common today, but it is not normal. There was a time in this country where women were like, I'm not going out there. I could get hurt. It's probably dangerous out there. But what are we seeing? We are seeing women running to the danger. They're like the main ones, the loudest ones out here. It's like older white women. Somebody's Mima. What? Don't you have like a bake sale to make some cookies for? You don't have a quilt that you should be crocheting or something? Why is it that you are giving over your life to this? It's reflective of the fact that our culture is just out of order. Many of them were probably them old feminists from back in the day who were burning their bras and demanding to murder their babies. They've got murderous hearts, no peace. They are the seeds of your Margaret Sangers, your Nikki Giovanni's. That's who these women are. It's sad to watch them fall into such disarray, but it's just where we are. But you guys, this was not a tragedy that was caused by ICE. Okay? If you at this point don't understand the issue as to how we got here and why ICE is needed and why illegal immigration is bad, there's not much I can do to help you. I recently came across, I've changed a lot. I'm a little bit more spicier than I used to be. But I came across a Facebook post of mine, and I'd pull it up now if I had time to blur out the person's face because I really don't want to embarrass this person. But at my old church, a person had strong disagreement with my position on illegal immigration. And she took it upon herself to post to my Facebook wall a scripture. I want to say may have been Matthew 16. I can't remember, but it was about, when I was hungry, when I was naked, you clothed me. When I was hungry, you fed me. And this post is probably about 5 years old. It came up on my memories. And she struggled to understand the problem of illegal immigration and tried to lay the charge at me that I was heartless and cruel and unchristian because I wanted to close our borders to illegal immigrants that had not been vetted and who scratched through the fence to get here. And this is at a biblically sound church. I mean, I'm talking one of the coldest expositors this side of the Mississippi River. This was a good, godly, solid church, and this woman couldn't understand. She couldn't get it. And I was incredibly kind and gracious in my response. I might be able to pull it up. Let me see. I wanted to read it to y'all because when you look back at your growth and the times when I'm older now, and this woman was older than me, so I was trying to be incredibly gracious and long suffering with her, and I think I did a good job of laying out the argument. But let me find this. Oh man, it came up on my memories. How is it that I can't find it? I don't want my story archive. Y'all give me a second. I think we're almost there. I think. No. It couldn't have been 7 years ago. No, maybe it was. Nope. Let me see. Darn it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. I can't find it, you guys. If I find it, I will share it with you guys when I find it, but right now I haven't found it. It came up 2 days ago, I think. Oh gosh. I don't remember. Anyway, the point I wanted to make was that this situation with ICE, you guys, it wasn't a tragedy. This was the logical end of Democrat lawlessness, and no amount of crying and boo-hooing and snotting that people do on CNN, none of the fiery speeches from AOC, none of the social justice hashtags are going to change that. And so I hope I've been clear on my position that our commander-in-chief has a mandate from the American people to not just close our borders, but to send back those who pierced our border illegally, because we don't know who they are. And it is unsustainable for us to take care of this many people. We do not have an infinite amount of resources to do so, on top of the fact that we don't know who they are. And we've also discovered that not all, but many of them have figured out how to take advantage of our kindness and exploit us for our resources, and have us, the taxpayer, out here busting our behinds to pay for their food and their housing and their health care. And many of them have been allowed to vote. That is a problem for me. You will never win an argument trying to convince me that illegal immigration is good for this country. You cannot have mass immigration without assimilation. And we've already seen what happens in Europe when you let too many immigrants in at one time. You don't get assimilation. They come in and take over. And our forefathers fought way too hard, and too much blood was shed for us to watch our country get taken over by people who don't share our values. They just don't. I'm sure some of them are well-meaning and nice, the ones that have come over here with a suitcase and the coat on their back and have figured out how to make the American dream or achieve the American dream. We applaud them and we salute them. But the freeloaders, the ones coming in, putting their feet up on your couch and shuffling their feet, and mud is everywhere. Nah, you got to go home. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here. That's real. Now, let me get to some super chats. Shout out to Sister Ruth. I appreciate you, Sister April. These folks in Minneapolis have lost their minds. Keep me in your prayers. Sister Ruth, I have been praying for you. I don't know what your situation is like, but I would love for you to flee to the hills and find you another city that's in driving distance, maybe, or outside of the states, that, is more in line with your shared values. I don't know. But you a trooper, because you hanging in there, hoping it's going to get better. But as far as I know, you have over 100,000 Somali immigrants, and we have no idea what other the percentage and the numbers are in other immigrants. The whole state is so wrought with fraud that unfortunately, I don't know. Outside of deporting many of them, and some of them have been deporting, it's going to be a process in order to course correct this. But thank you so much for your super chat. I appreciate it tonight. We have, hey Lydia, oh, you're so beautiful. Thank you. A close friend of mine is a Democrat, and he insists that she did not hit him. I've noticed that my Democrat friends are wildly hot-headed. Yeah, they're super emotional. Oftentimes, there's an impairment as it relates to their logic and their reason. And it's because, for many of them, it's cognitive dissonance. And also, there's an echo chamber. If you are getting a steady diet of CNN, it's no wonder that it's brain rot. You really struggle to think in proper categories. Many of them don't have like a basic fundamental understanding of the founding of this country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. They don't understand what it means to be an American. And so they want this Renee Good story to be some sort of martyrdom for them, but they still can't explain how it is lawful for a citizen to obstruct an official federal proceeding by not just parking your car perpendicular to traffic, but taunting these officers and being in the way, right? Like, I don't know what it's going to take for them to see, how many angles it's going to take for them to see and hear, but there's no justification for this. Not in my opinion. Hey, girlie. This my girl. The boys had you working. We've been waiting all week to hear your thoughts on this. You never disappoint. Thank you for breaking it all the way down, sis. Love you. I love you too, sis. I really do. You guys, make sure you hop on over to the Red Pill Brown Girl YouTube channel. She is like, if you had like some buffalo wings and I'm hot, Crystal is like flaming hot, scorched earth hot, like on a continuum, like she way over here. And I love her for that because she is so fearless and unafraid. She will just say it. She is incredibly bold with her commentary, and she is an American patriot who loves this country. Okay? I mean, she's in like cage stage. She's like cage stage MAGA right now. We wait for her to come down, but listen, ain't nothing you can say to make her hate Donald Trump, okay? It's just nothing you can say. Nothing can make you hate. Nothing can make her hate him. And so I love her though. She has become a very good friend, and I am so grateful for your friendship, Crystal. We can't wait for you to come out the closet and just bust out on the scene. Not that kind of closet. I'm talking about like your content creator. Your content creator closet. Oh, God. Thank you, TC Jammin. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate that one as well. You guys, I have one more story that I want to cover. And this one, I came across this story on X again. Y'all, X is a cesspool. Okay, it is a true cesspool. Let me just get it all queued up here. And this story was wild. It was wild because I want to ask you guys something. How does a really tiny, barely stocked store with no food, no customers, hardly like no inventory, how does a store like that somehow cash $500,000 a month, not a year, a month in food stamps? How you do that? Like,
flag on the plate.
We're not talking a Costco, right? We're not talking about Walmart. We're not talking about Kroger or H-E-B or Publix. We're talking about a little ghost store, right? Like just a little store, like a little bodega, right? Like I'm from the Bronx. I grew up at the corner store where you went there for convenience, but you knew the markup was super high, but they at least had the basics: milk, bread, if you needed some sugar, some diapers, some pickled pig feet, you know, they had things that you're like, I know I can go here to get what I need, but it's not like my main choice. Well, there was this store up in Boston that was literally over $500,000 a month in food stamps. How are we supposed to believe that this just happened, right? Like, was there like no coordination, no instructions, no system knowledge? Is you want Americans to believe that we don't really know how this happened? Well, apparently, Americans, y'all, we're supposed to be stupid. We're supposed to be stupid. And so I ran across this bombshell federal case that, I don't know about you, But I think it should have every American outraged. Like, regardless of your political affiliation, you should be mad because this story isn't just about fraud. It's about who pays, who benefits, and who are the ones that get silenced when you dare ask questions. So let's take a look at this clip.
We are announcing federal charges against two men, Antonio Bonner and Saul Elisme, for large-scale SNAP benefit trafficking, a scheme that turned a program designed to feed families into a multi-million-dollar criminal enterprise. SNAP benefits are also known as food stamps. The defendants are charged with one count of food stamp fraud. As alleged in the charging documents, these men abused one of the government's most critical safety net programs for their own financial gain. This is taxpayer money meant to keep people from going hungry. These defendants decided to take it for themselves. These defendants exchanged SNAP benefits for cash, which they pocketed. Bonner, a naturalized U.S. citizen from Haiti, owned the Jesuela Variety Store. Elisme, a lawful permanent resident also from Haiti, owned the Saul Mache Mixe store. These two businesses were co-located within a single storefront in Boston. To be certain, these were not supermarkets. They were not full-service groceries. It would be a huge stretch to even call them convenience stores. In fact, the only thing convenient about these stores was how easy it was to commit SNAP benefit fraud. To put this in perspective, the Jesuela Variety Store is less than 150 square feet in size, smaller than some bathrooms. The Saul Mache Mixe store was approximately 500 square feet in space. By contrast, a supermarket can be 20,000 to 60,000 square feet in size, have a dozen or more registers, and employ numerous employees. Both the Jesuela Variety and Saul Mache Mixe stores had one register, no carriages, no hand baskets, and very little food for sale. One legitimate supermarket in the same area as these stores redeems approximately $80,000 in SNAP benefits per month. Over the last 20 months, the Jesuela Variety Store was redeeming between 3 and 6 times that amount monthly, with nowhere near the space, inventory, customers, or infrastructure to support it. The Saul Mache Mixe store redeemed over $120,000 in SNAP benefits in the last 6 months. Simply put, there is no plausible way SNAP-eligible food could have been purchased from these stores for this long. Yet, these two stores are alleged to have illicitly trafficked nearly $7 million in SNAP benefits.
Y'all, ain't no way. Listen, I have been in retail. I was in retail for 11 years. My husband and I owned a furniture store. And at the height of our furniture store, we had 6,000 square feet. And furniture is pretty big, but your average tickets, our average ticket, I mean, a sectional, a sofa, a mattress. Do you know how much product you have to move to do $80,000 a month in like groceries? That's a lot of money. A lot of traffic. There's no way you can sell that much product in 150 square feet of space. It's not possible. It's just not. Especially when your average ticket ain't even $20, right? Like you can't do no, it's not happening. So I wanted to cover this because federal prosecutors in Boston, Massachusetts, they just charged 2 Haitian nationals with orchestrating this $7 million SNAP fraud scheme. Like, this is wild. $7 million. Okay? And the way they were doing it, they were using what investigators are now calling ghost stores. These are these little tiny stores with barely any inventory, little shops. And they were somehow processing $540,000 a month in EBT transactions. Let me say that again. You guys, do y'all realize that that is 6 times the snap volume of a fully stocked supermarket? Like at the Kroger, 6 times the snap volume at the Kroger. That is not some oops misunderstanding or, we just culturally just didn't understand. No, this is called industrial scale fraud. I saw someone say somebody in the government knew about this. Absolutely, I agree. This was not somebody slipping a few bucks under the table. This was their entire business model. The whole reason why this little shop existed was to do this, the EBT fraud. Now, I know I'm black and slow from time to time, but I got sense enough to know that this doesn't happen by accident. Okay, this is where Americans, we need to wake up. We need to wake up because people don't just accidentally defraud the federal government for millions of dollars. Okay, and this didn't just happen because, they're immigrants and, English isn't their first language and they were just confused and they just didn't understand the rules. No, that ain't what this is. This happened because someone taught them. They got insider baseball as to how to do this. These systems don't get gamed by accident. They get studied. Okay? Someone figured out what SNAP looks for, what SNAP ignores, how long these audits take, what raises a red flag, what doesn't, and once someone proves that it works, that knowledge spreads like wildfire, and it spreads fast. And that's how this scheme just started, probably just a few here and there, and it just spread. Like, we can't even use the excuse that, well, there was a barrier, a language barrier here. No, Americans, we so naive sometimes. We love to ask, well, how could people who don't even speak English learn how to do this? Right? Like, we ask that, like we slow and don't understand. But the question reveals how much of just out of touch we are. Welfare fraud doesn't require you to have a command of the English language. You don't have to have a high IQ. You don't even need to be politically sophisticated. All you need is some checklists, repetition, rinse and repeat. And once you've got that, you get a little coaching and recognizing patterns. Once the formula is learned, it's pretty much plug and play. Right? And it's word of mouth. This is not about intelligence. A lot of the people who do this and are engaged in this kind of fraud are not that smart, but it's about opportunity plus instruction. And somebody is absolutely instructing these people on how to do this. And so let's stop pretending like we don't understand how knowledge of these types of fraudulent scandals spread. These schemes, this information is spread through ethnic business networks. So if you have a business and you're of a particular ethnicity, you're going to tell your other individuals who are in business of your same ethnicity of how this works. You've got community organizations, these advocacy, nonprofits. You got a whole word of mouth pipeline. Right? Like people who are already in the know and have beat the system, they're the ones that are sharing how this works. So when one store pulls in $500,000 a month without any consequences, they're like, dang, we got the blueprint now. Here's how you do it. Here's what not to do. Here's what the government is going to ignore. Y'all, immigration at this point is like the new hustle. And unfortunately, I don't know if we're supposed to say, don't hate the player, hate the game, or both, but this is institutionalized instruction at our expense. We, the taxpayer, we are the ones that are shouldering the burden of all of this fraud. And so this system where probably to them, it screams low risk. But people respond to incentives, not speeches of, fraud is wrong, right? Like the American welfare system is sending a really loud message. And the message is that there's no oversight or weak oversight at that. When it's time for them to enforce, they kind of slow with it. By the time you get caught, you could be back in Haiti, right? And then add to the cultural dynamic. There is a political fear of being called racist. And I told y'all this cowardice was going to be the Achilles heel and the destruction of this country. Being worried about what people call you, and I don't want to be called racist. Like, at this point, who the heck cares? Yes, I know we've got activists who are putting pressure on individuals to expand the government and not verify these things. And bureaucrats, they would rather look the other way. Like your Tim Walls, like your Jacob Frays, they'd rather look the other way than to confront the fraud. But in fact, I think they were in on it, but that's my opinion. Allegedly, I'm just saying, listen, when you've got all of those different elements coming together, the message becomes so clear. You won't get caught. And if you do, by the time they catch up with you, it'll be years down the line. We are effectively allowing ourselves to being taken advantage of because of pure negligence, because big government is inefficient. And layers of bureaucracy is what creates the environment for fraud like this to happen. This is why I'm a small government kind of person. I'm not saying we don't need no entitlements, but the fact that any and everybody can get on EBT now, like, that's a problem for me. And it's a problem that Americans, we're the ones that are told to shut up. That should make you angry. The only people that are not allowed to question this are the people that's paying for it. Hello? Right? That would be us, the American people. Because Lord forbid if Americans ask, why is this so easy to exploit? Like, how does this even happen? Why aren't these stores being flagged immediately? Like, we're footing the bill. These are legitimate questions that we should be allowed to ask. But when we ask, we're told, don't you say that. You're being xenophobic. That is insensitive. Your white privilege is talking. Well, what's my excuse? Because I ain't white, okay? Now, I do got some black privilege. I was born black. I'm an image bearer of God. That is the ethnic expression and the skin that I'm wrapped up in. And I'm a friggin' American and I pay taxes. So that's my privilege, okay? And you can say I lack compassion all day long. I do not want to pay for this. Taxpayers are the one who fund the system. Taxpayers are the one who have to absorb the losses. We are carrying the burden. Our children have to carry the burden. Silencing us is not moral. It proves that you are corrupt as the day is long. And so we have to reform this system. SNAP has a component where there's a federal component and there's a state component. This happened in Boston, so that's liberal, blue Massachusetts. It's happening in other states as well. And the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, can this system be reformed? Right? Now, what some people might think is reform, for me, reform is not, well, let's cut, helping people who absolutely need it completely. That's not reform to me. I'm not even saying that we need to demonize all immigrants and punish the individuals who are honest recipients. But when you have this kind of widespread fraud, it makes it hard for everybody. So everybody's going to be under the microscope. And that's just the cost that you got to pay. It is what it is. But reform could look like, why don't we have real-time transaction monitoring? Right? Like, why aren't there monthly inspections to a lot of these stores to see if the inventory is matching the redemption results? Like, have some inventory to redemption audits. You're redeeming this much in EBT. Well, how much food did you even buy this month? Why is it that I remember a time when it was incredibly rare to find a store that wasn't a grocery store that accepted EBT. Why not tighten up the retailer approval requirements? What every Jim Bob and Patel and Habib, can everybody doing EBT now? Right? I mean, you can even use EBT on Amazon now. You really can. There needs to be some clear consequences, because if EBT is supposed to be a safety net for the needy, at this point, it is easily exploited. It's an open vault, and I don't want to pay for this anymore. So the real question isn't how did they figure it out, right? The real question is, why did our government make it so easy? And why did they ignore it? I'm thinking it's because when fraud becomes so routine, when the oversight fails, the leadership fails, and accountability fails, Americans, we're the ones that are treated like we're the unlimited ATM. Like there's just this bottomless pit of money that they are allowed to have access to. I reject that. So I understand some people have this opinion of America that we're just full of resources and it's unlimited. America has always been generous, okay? But generosity without accountability makes us vulnerable. And right now, these immigrants have figured out that Americans are slow and vulnerable, and let's get the bag while we can. Our kindness has been mistaken for weakness. This is why you need a strong president like Donald Trump. You don't have to like him, but if he is going to figure out a way to get this fraud, this waste, and this abuse under control, you, the taxpayer, will benefit, because now the bill is due. And I don't know about you, but I believe that Americans deserve honesty and accountability, and reform is necessary. And you have to stop letting these people gaslight you into silence. Americans have been known to be incredibly courageous, but I am afraid that, and it's not just masculinity is under the attack, our American mystique is gone. I'm like, so you just let anybody come over here and take advantage of us? That is not the American way. That is not the American way. But I wanted to cover this, you guys, because this story escaped me. I didn't see a lot of people covering it. This was just two Haitians. They were getting the bag, y'all. Basically, you could go there, and instead of using your EBT card to actually buy food, they were washing the money and then taking a cut from it. They were processing millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in EBT transactions, and the store is smaller than a bathroom, a master bathroom. One store was 150 square feet, the other store was 500 square feet. Like, where's your inventory? So at least they got caught, but it's not enough. They need to crack down on this, and they need to do more. That's my opinion. So let me grab this super chat. Hey, Doris. Type merch that way. Y'all got to understand, I've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for so long that I like to be able to control my own inventory. I don't really like drop shipping. And so, like, if I can't carry it, the inventory and the sizes and all of that, I tend to shy away from it. But it might be worth looking into the print on demand, since I am busy and I don't have time to operate a fully stocked print shop. I might do something like that. So I might come out with a new one once a month. We'll have a shirt or a sweatshirt of the month. We will see. I think that's a really good idea. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate it. So anyway, I'm frozen. I don't know what's going on, Layla. I'm sorry. Checks and balances. I don't know. I'm back here. I think that was all. I wanted to cover those two topics. I believe I'm gonna go live to Friday, not tomorrow, Friday. And I'm just getting back in the swing of content creation, and y'all, I'm trying to finish this book. I ain't gonna lie. I gotta finish this book. Season 2 of Motives Unmasked is coming out. We're trying to do some live in-person screenings of the theater length version of that. Be on the lookout for that. We're trying to do an event, one in Nashville, one in Atlanta, and one in Dallas. So if you've not already watched season 1 of MLK Motives Unmasked, you can go to Patreon and go to Chad Jackson's Historia Revelata page, and you can go ahead and watch it there. And so it's really an amazing project. It's an amazing project. It's gonna open up a lot of eyes. It goes deep. It really, we really should turn it into a course. I'm gonna talk to Chad about that. Turning it into a digital course for, I mean, it really could be collegiate level. It's so well done and it's so well researched. But we will see. Oh yeah. We've got probably 2 or 3 more episodes of the interview with Chad and Chuck and Vince, and yeah. It was cool. It was cool. So I love you guys. With the love of the Lord, I'm gonna go and eat my dinner. And until next time, you guys, stand firm, stay bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Grace and peace.